Requesting connection. Established. Encrypted. We're live. The show you've been asking for. Advice, technology, and community. Linux first, all others second. This is Ask Noah.
Live from Southeast Linux Fest, the Ask Noah show starts right now. This is the show where we came to do all the things on Linux they said couldn't be done and take your questions on how to do the same. The phone lines are open this hour. To be a part of the program, it's a free call, 1-855-450-NOAH. That's 1-855-450-6624, or send an email to live@asknoahshow.com. My name is Noah Chalai. I am your host. Delighted to be here with you this hour as another episode of the Ask Noah Show kicks off. Again, we're live from Southeast Linux Fest. This is day number 2. We'll be live all 3 days out here at Southeast Linux Fest. We'll be interviewing people. We'll be carrying live coverage. The people at Southeast Linux Fest were kind enough to ask us to anchor the coverage of Southeast Linux Fest. So southeastlinuxfest.org/live is live coverage of the event. You can check out all of the talks that we've carried. Now, today was a special day because I had a chance to talk, and I had the opportunity to go give a presentation on exactly what we do at the Ask Noah show. As my shirt says, I'm here to do everything on Linux they said couldn't be done. And we have taken that to the extreme. We do all of our broadcasting on Linux, all of our post-production on Linux. The show is done on Linux, and we're very proud of that. And I had an opportunity to speak to an absolutely packed room about broadcasting on Linux. And so I was very thankful to everybody that came out. And if you're interested in the talk, it will be available for download at some point. I can't tell you when. If you wanted access to it immediately, of course, you could sign up as a remote attendee at southeastlinuxfest.org/live. Pay $5. You get access to not just my talk, but all of the other talks. Michael's, Tanel, Caden Live, Intro to Advanced, and a lot of other really great things. We're also going to have coverage throughout the rest of the day, so stay tuned because there's going to be more live coverage. Now, this is our small business episode. I'm so excited because I have a number of different guests that we're going to be chatting with this hour. I want to start with, do you mind if I have one other guy that's on the phone. Can I take him? Is that cool? Just hang tight for me. So I've got a number of people that are lined up that we're going to be chatting with about small business. If you have a question about your small business, if you want to start a small business, you go ahead and give us a call at 1-855-450-NOAH. That's 855-450-6624. And because the name of the show is Ask Noah, and my name is Noah, and I get to make the decisions, I actually changed my mind. I'm actually going to take you first. So welcome to the Ask Noah show, man. How's it going?
Oh, it's pretty good.
Okay,
Had a good weekend.
So I have to ask you this first. What is your favorite part of Self? Like, why do you why do you come out here?
I come out here honestly because of the atmosphere. It's almost the only place where I don't feel like I stand out, where I feel like I'm actually part of the group.
You fit in.
Yeah, fit in.
Yeah, this is the place where you can fit in. That makes a lot of sense. I really come here for the community too, and I've said that numerous times. Every time somebody asks, I say it's the only fest I refuse to miss because of the community that's here. So what are we chatting about today?
I think I brought up to you that how going to a tech conference actually eventually got me a tech job.
Right. And that's something that we've talked about on the Ask Noah show, and you're here to give us a little bit more information about how that happened for you. So tell me the story.
All right, so I lived in Florida, just for some background information. So last September, Hurricane Irma came through, and for 3 months I was out of a job because the place where I was working didn't need me for 3 months, and I was doing, pretty bad. And then I got my job back for a little while. It was, okay, a little bit better than before, but still wasn't tech. It was at a law office. And then in February, we had something called South Florida Code Camp, where actually my friend Aaron brought me there. I actually almost didn't go because my mom had just had surgery. But she told me to go, and it's probably one of the best things she actually told me to do.
I guess let's pause right there for a second. Was Mom okay? Everything worked out?
Yeah, everything. We're getting there.
Okay.
So I went, and Aaron introduced me to a friend of his who happens to own a data center. And let me just say, I've been going to tech conferences for 3 or 4 years. So, at this time, I was, kind of under the impression, it's probably never going to happen. And plus, I just got my other job back, so I wasn't really looking. But his friend brought one of his coworkers or colleagues with him, and I had my Chromebook there, and on my Chromebook I had Ubuntu Mate running. So he asked me, "Hey, is that crouton?" I'm like, no, actually, this is I took out the write protection screws and installed Ubuntu Mate. So then we got to talking because he's also this really big Linux guy, and
I don't know what that was. We'll just keep moving.
But he's also this really big Linux guy. We got to talking, and he said, "So what are you working right now?" I just got my job back at a law office, and he said, "You ever want, you want to?" No, but I'd like to work in tech one day, but, right now, just got this going. You want a job? Wait, what?
So he offered you a job?
He didn't offer me a job right there and then.
Yeah, he's inquiring about your employment status.
Yeah, pretty much. And then, actually, the Wednesday afterwards, they had me go to the data center and showed me around. And I didn't think they were going to do an interview, but they did. And that took me completely off guard. And 3 weeks later, I was there.
That's incredible. So what lesson have you, or what impact did that leave on you as it relates to community and relationship building at things like Linux Fest?
Well, it basically says if you're passionate enough and you get to know enough people,
and people see that.
Yeah, people see that and they think I was there for fun.
Right.
I was at that tech event for fun.
Yeah, you didn't go looking for a job.
Right. So that was, that caught me completely off guard. And actually that basically was something that I was hoping would happen for years now.
Mm-hmm. That you would get a job.
Yeah. That
Wow.
would get a job in tech, rather.
Yeah. So what are you doing today?
Today I am a network operations technician.
Okay.
Basically, something goes wrong on the data center floor. I, take a look at, clients' cabinets to make sure what's going on, see if there's hard drive failures, build servers.
Mm-hmm.
I get to build computers for my job now.
Yeah. So you're doing more of the hardware side, not so much the software?
A little bit of software too. They had me learning RAID. They had me learning networking. Basically, the first month I was there, I learned more about networking than I had learned in any classroom put together.
Wow. That's incredible. That's absolutely awesome. And since then, I take it you've now made it a priority to come out and visit with people at the various Linux Fest because this is how connections are made. This is how human bonds are made.
Right. And actually, coming here helped me with a few things, especially because the RAID talk that happened.
Yes.
I forget what it was. KDN Live, kind of.
Okay.
But
there was some weird kid over in that room over there. He was doing what was it? Something production on Linux. If you'd want to use Linux for production, I don't know. Did you happen to catch that?
I couldn't actually.
Oh, okay. Well, it's going to be available for download.
I apologize.
No, don't do that. I just have to give you a hard time. It'll be available. Here's the thing: if you're a remote attendee, you can download the talk right now. If you're not a remote attendee, then the talk will be available at YouTube. So, really, you're multitasking. Not to mention, it's like you have direct access, so you could just ask me whatever it was, that was important, right?
True.
There you go. Well, I think that's absolutely fantastic. And if people want to find out more about you, or is there a website or a project that you're affiliated with?
Actually, I do stream a little bit on Twitch.
Oh yeah, give me the Twitch handle.
It's Ivories Ablaze, IVORIES
Outstanding.
And when I can, because the new job's kind of pretty much taking up all my time now, which to be honest, is more or less me volunteering for it because I enjoy what I do now.
Yeah, but you get to collect a paycheck for your volunteer efforts, right?
Yeah, pretty well. I'm on salary, but
yeah, okay, yeah.
But the fact that the first day I was there, I didn't want to go home. That kind of pushes that. But yeah, when I can do it, I am live on Twitch. I don't know if you said my name. It's Joel.
Joel. Yeah. Sorry. I was actually going to make a note for myself so I can remember to put you in the show notes. Well, here's the thing. I really appreciate you stopping by the booth, Joel. Thanks for coming by and sharing your story. And I think really why that story is important is because it underlines a really important factor, and that is that this fest is not necessarily about Linux, it's about people. Linux is just the thing that brought the people together, and those of us that have been here and have been doing this for a long time, we understand that. And nobody understands that better than the guy that's sitting right to my left, and that's Mr. Chris DeLuca. Hey, Chris, welcome back to the Ask Noah Show.
Hey, how's it going?
You know, the thing is, Chris, you and I we've known each other for a long time, and you and I got together over the technology and have since built a human relationship.
Yes, we have. In fact, you drove
way too long and way too
long to my house to help with an OBS implementation in one of our schools. And honestly, they're still using it today, and they're doing more things with it than I ever thought they would do.
Yeah, in fact, you told this, and I know you've told this story on the Ask Noah show before, but you sat down with one of the students, and the student was saying, "Hey, I need to know how to do this particular thing in OBS because we want to take it the next step further." Yeah, and he's teaching you how to use, OBS.
Yeah, he came into the shop with actually with the custodian, and he was running around with her, and he said, "Hey, are you the guy that set up the broadcast booth?" And I said, "Yeah." He goes, "Well, we need another monitor." And I said, "What do you need another monitor for?" He said, "Well, we want to do the weather." The weather? Yeah. Well, just come over there and I'll show you. So they set up another green screen, and so now they have another student, and they bring up a weather map and the weather patterns, and he actually does the weather. I said, How'd you do that? How'd you do the green screen? I knew it could do it. How did you do the green screen? He's like, "Oh, well, here, click, 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 click." And I said, "Man, they're not even doing this at the high school." He said, "They will next year." Because I'm going to be there.
He's a middle schooler. He's going into high school. And again, that's the technology bringing things together. And now you and I have developed a friendship. And so, we chat on a regular basis. And now we're kind of going back to the tech because you and I are going to go in on a project together and work on something. And maybe we'll expose some details to that at the Ask Noah Show if the contract gets approved, hopefully. But yeah, so that's really what I take away from this stuff, and that's what the point I keep trying to drive it home. I keep trying to tell people these fests are about people. They're about human connection, and it matters. And today we're doing a small business episode. We're talking for people all around the world. Actually, we got people calling in that are going to talk to us about small business. Now, one of the human relationships, one of the first friends I ever made here at Southeast Linux Fest was a guy that goes by the name of Dago. And Dago Red, rather, his handle is chat room, is a phenomenally intelligent guy, one of the smartest guys I've ever met. And he codes while he smokes hookah, or he goes to a local liquor establishment and inhales his hookah and then codes. But the man is a born genius.
I met him yesterday, and
he's a sharp cookie.
He is very sharp.
Yeah. So just chatting with him, and we're working through some things, and started talking to him, and I said, "Yeah, we're hosting a small business theme hour," and he goes, "You know what? I'm actually part of a small startup that's going on, and I'll get you my managing partner, and we'll have him call in, and you can chat with him about the really cool things that we're doing, because we understand what it takes to run a small business. We understand what it takes to serve our clients well." So joining us via phone is Keith. Hey, Keith, welcome to the Ask Noah Show.
Noah, great to be here. Appreciate you having me on.
Hey, thanks, sir. I appreciate you taking the time to be here. So, I guess it was sort of an impromptu interview. We knew that this was going to happen. We knew that that you were out there, and we have kind of a gist. But tell me the story. What's the nature of your business, and how is it that you have employed the incredibly smart and talented Dago to do some consulting for you?
Okay, well, let me step back a little bit. The name of the company is DAO Technologies, and this is actually my second tech company.
Okay.
I started out in the 90s, and I was at Drexel. Got 2 engineering degrees, and out of Drexel, I wanted to start a business using all these skills I had learned. And in the 90s, a lot of this stuff was just coming along. So to answer how I got into business, we have to answer why I became an engineer. And the answer is simple. I wanted to help people. So fast forward, 25 plus years now, and I found Plug. And ironically, Plug had been here a very long time, and I just wasn't aware of it because, as you know, when you're a small business owner, I mean, that's your life. That's not something you do part-time. And
yeah, absolutely.
I was a consultant pretty much the whole time. Yeah, you're working for people, you're not working for people. At one point, I was working for a contractor to the city of Philadelphia for a very long time, and it sort of passed a lot of responsibilities to my partners. But in 2012, I decided to get back to that, and I felt like I was, not really going where I wanted to go, and doing this for 25 plus years, the one thing I've learned, and I think this even came out in the Linux Foundation a while back, is that open source is the way to do things. That's it, full stop. We've learned that. So the question became, how do I now communicate that more effectively? Okay? So over the 20 plus years, what I came up with is something that I heard you guys say earlier, and that was, this is about people. And I tell this to other starting businesses all the time. It does not matter what you are doing. Business is about people, and it's about relationships.
Absolutely.
In the tech community, the way we win business, okay? The way we win business is to simply talk about the human aspect of it. Dago Red, he'll tell you, I'm always talking about pain points. If we're doing meetings, I tell guys, I don't want to hear anything about tech. And the funny thing is, I'm usually the first guy to break that rule, but, I got to sort of get the marching orders up front. But if you don't talk about tech and you talk about the human aspect of things, tech just becomes the tool. And those of us in the open source world, the Linux world, BSD, whatever you want to call it, we know that we have the best tools for this. So, getting to the actual meat and potatoes that we all like to talk about and we get excited about solutions, yeah, that's great, but those are the tools, okay? We have to talk about the business aspect and the people aspect first.
Absolutely. And you know what's funny? I get people all the time, Keith, they'll call me up and they will say, Noah, I really like what you've done. You've spun off a successful technology company. You've run it for 10 years. And, that's why I want to do the same thing. How do I do that? And I'll say, okay, well, let's talk about why you want to do it. Why do you want to start your own business? And they'll look at me and they say, I want to be my own boss. I don't like having a boss. I don't want a boss anymore. So I want to get rid of my boss, and so I have more freedom. And my first answer to those people is, buddy, you will be the hardest boss you've ever worked for in your life. You're not getting rid of a boss. You're just going from one boss that has one, set of expectations to every client you work for now becomes your boss, and it becomes your job to manage yourself, and it's twice as hard as working for somebody else. And you have to work twice as hard. First thing you said when you came onto the program. When you work for yourself, when you own a small business, there is no, well, it's Christmas. There is no, well, it's Thanksgiving. It's, you have to be working 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And you have to be representing yourself in your company 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You have a bad interaction with a clerk at a gas station. That can have negative ramifications on your business if you're a small business. You don't have the luxury of saying, yeah, that was a guy, and we had we disciplined him, and that was the end of it. You need to be representing yourself positively all the time. So I think you're absolutely right. Let me ask you this, Keith, because I can tell just from talking to you for a couple of minutes that you have been doing this a long time and have really developed a knack for it and have some insight to this. To the young entrepreneur, to the guy that's kind of afraid to start his own business, he knows what he wants to do. He's got a deep desire and a deep passion to do something different. What do you tell that guy? How does he get started?
Well, the first thing I like to tell people is that you have to have a support network. That's key. My wife is also a business owner, so we've got two people, and we both have businesses, and neither one of us would be where we are without the other. And I tell people that all the time, whether it's a spouse, parent, friends, or team. You've got to first understand that you are not going to do this by yourself, okay?
Right.
Your success is your team's success, and actually is the people around you, the community. You've talked about community several times today, just before I got on, and I'd love to be down there with you guys, but I'm up here trying to close business. I'm building
absolutely
today,
Absolutely, hustle and grind, yeah, man.
hustle and grind. So, Will's down there and other guys, and that's great. But the reason why I'm able to do this is because there's a team, and you got to have that support network. So that's the most important thing, is having that trusted group of guys around you. And not that you agree all the time. If I like to tell people, if someone's not telling you no, you're probably doing something wrong. So have guys, you get or gals, you get together, you have a respect for each other because you all headed in the same direction, but know that you can count on them and things like that. The second thing is, if you're not afraid, there's also a problem. Anything that's worth doing should be hard work, but should also at some point give you just enough stress to keep you up at night. Man, if I can get 4 to 6 hours of sleep, I'm doing well. You know what I mean? So it's
absolutely.
My brain is always going, and you know how it is. It's like you're sort of, you get an anxiety and you get the fear, but what happens is that motivates you, and that's also what helps you rely on your team and build your team out. But let that fear motivate you. Don't fear. The great thing about fear, which kind of sounds weird, but the great thing about fear is that it sharpens the senses. You will figure out things that you thought you would never figure out if you're on a client site and like everything's on fire, servers aren't doing what it's supposed to, networks going crazy, and you don't know what's going on, and the fear of losing that contract or your reputation, because that's really all you have, and that going sideways, that is going to motivate you like you've never seen before. Yes, you're going to lose sleep. You'll lose weight or gain weight depending on your response to anxiety. But at the end of the day, if you embrace that, you're going to go very far. So don't be afraid. Build your team. Have that support network. Here's another truth. All businesses grow. There is a natural growth to any business. If you are doing things half right, you will get clients and you'll grow. And the harder thing is actually managing growth. That's, once you get it dialed in, that's going to be where you sort of have to talk to other people about business operations, which gets away from the tech side of things. But all businesses grow. Just do what do that side of things. Have that excellence. Be around people. Be around your customers. Don't just attend the technical conferences, but also attend the business conferences, the people you want to do business with, the people that are going to sign checks. Get to know them. Have a conversation. Keep it casual. Keep it human. You'll be fine.
Let me ask you, those are all excellent points, absolutely excellent points, and I agree with absolutely everything you just said. Can you talk to me a little bit about prioritizing? Actually, I want to go back for a second. I want to add on to something that you just said. There's a fantastic book that I really like called "Thou Shalt Prosper" by Rabbi Daniel Lapin, and in it he talks about how he is Jewish by faith, and talks about how he believes he is called to prosper by God, and he believes that the Jewish people are called to prosper by God, and that's why the Jewish people traditionally do well. And he wrote an entire book about what it takes to succeed and how the Jewish people view success. And one of the things that he talks about in his book, and you kind of touched on this, is he says, if you can help enough people get what they want in life, they will help you get what you want in life. And so you don't concentrate on the money so much as you concentrate on doing the good work for people, and the money will come, the growth will come. Because a lot of people worry about numbers and statistics and am I optimizing my search optimization, all that stuff. Really concentrate on the people, concentrating on serving people. Sounds like you would agree with that.
Oh, 100%. I mean, that's spot on. If again, I became an engineer because I wanted to help people. I wanted to learn how to think, get that sort of really deep analytical mindset formalized, and then be able to help people, be able to build things, use my hands. Sort of almost like a social worth sort of thing. Even though we don't like to talk about things like that, but that's absolutely true. I had 2 conversations in the last 2 weeks, and it was with one is an operation already established. They're going through some growth things. They want to correct some things. And another woman was earlier this week who's starting a business, and she was so worried about these things and so worried about, well, how much am I going to put out for this, because I'm just starting and I don't have that many clients. And I just told her, don't worry about it. I'm going to cap the is, and obviously I want to be paid for stuff. But I told her, I said, for me, a lot of what I do is also helping other businesses get started, because the true enjoyment for me, the thing that geeks me out is that you help someone out, you help them get started, and then like a year later, you're looking back and saying, hey, remember when you were all freaked out about this, and now look where you are. And it's so true. If the more you can help and have that sort of balance in life, where certainly you got to take care of yourself, your family, and things like that. That's reality. But the other side of it, which is maybe less real, is really this sense of community that, arguably is maybe not there in a lot of things. So, my clients are a lot of times my friends. Most of the times they're my friends. And it's not because I necessarily did a good job or everything went right, but it's because I always put them first as human beings. I always talk to them about, hey, what else do you need? What else can I do? And yeah, this is not about getting another check or consulting time. No, it's, hey, what's going on? How can I help? What are you looking at? What do you want to do? How can I help you? Maybe there's some other great idea you have, and let's talk about that. And it's not even about me. Look, this is 24 hours in a day, and like I said, I like to get maybe 4 hours of sleep, but look, it's something that could go to someone else. I don't need to do everything. I'm sort of past that point in my career. I don't need to do everything and put my name on it. I just want to be a part of people doing some great work and helping people see their dreams. And for me, I completely agree with that. You will do very well if you have that sort of balance in life.
So, kind of going off that same question, or slightly pivoting off that question, I guess, rather, I know as a small business owner, one thing that I constantly struggle with is I always have these ideas of how to make money. Every time I turn around, I'm like, hey, you know what? I could capitalize on that. I know I could make a product or a service or a this or a that, or I could spin off and do that. And I constantly find myself having to come back and say, Noah, you need to ask yourself, is this what this company needs to be doing? Is whatever that thing that you're pie in the skying about, is that thing really relevant to the mission of this company? And then I kind of have to refocus myself. Do you think that's a problem for the entrepreneurs, the startups, the small business owners?
Yeah, there's depending on the type of business, it is very easy to chase money, especially when things are not going well.
Yes.
When I sort of reformed my DAO Technologies, which again, I've been doing this all the time, but I wanted to get back to it 100%. And when I sat down and thought about this, I thought about where most of my excellence had been in the last, 15 years or so at that time. And it really was in the data protection and security and network analysis side of things. And I do, I usually tell people, it's easier to ask me what I don't do because I've touched so many things. I have to sort of think that way, which people say, oh, that's kind of arrogant. I'm like, look, you would do something 20 plus years, you'll be in the same boat. But
right, and I want to point out, there is a difference between arrogance and confidence, right? There is a difference between you have done something.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I mean, there's what you're describing to me is confidence.
Yes. I have to have that conversation with people. It's like, if you've done a bunch of things, there's a confidence level. But the funny thing is, that's where the risk is, going back to your question, because I'll see something and say, oh, wow, that's a really good idea. Or we'll be talking with the team members, and guys will say, hey, what about this or what about that? And I always try to, one, I want to hear everything because you never know. And I'll always say, look, if we can make it make sense and, have it be successful or get an idea going, let's go for it. But at the end of the day, you do have to maintain a discipline of trying not to do too much. Probably in my early 30s, I was trying to do way too much. And it took me a couple of years to realize that. And I like to tell people, especially younger adults, I like to give them the conversation about the power of no. And half the time these days, I'm telling myself internally, you know what? It may be a good idea. Maybe you can do this. But you know what? It's probably not a good idea. Hand it off. Don't do it. Put it on the shelf, because you don't want to overwhelm yourself. It's better to do a few things very, very well as opposed to a bunch of things half-assed.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with that more. I really appreciate everything that you have shared with us. Is there a place, first of all, I guess I'll ask, can we get you back on the program at some point?
Oh, absolutely. I love doing this. This is evangelism 101. Let's do it.
It is, and the thing is, Keith, is I think that it's easy for me to find people that are working on small business, and there's a group of us here that have been that are working on our own individual small business, and we enjoy sharing our passion, and of course we're all in the tech sphere, so there's that connection. But I can tell just from our time together today that you really have a command on this stuff, and you've been doing it a long time, and I think you have a lot to offer those of us that are by comparison anyway, are just getting started. And so I really appreciate your time. Any place you want to send people where they can find more information about DAO Tech and or Keith?
Sure. Yeah, I'm on Google Plus. My website is www.DAO Technologies. That's Delta Alpha Oscar Technologies.com. And on there, the thing I'm most proud of is our testimonials. It's the second link on the left-hand side, and feel free to peruse that and the other things on our website. It's actually just in going through it before this, I got to do a bunch of updates, and we're going to be doing a new look and feel. But yeah, all the information is there, and you can check us out. You can send me email. There's an info link on there, but you can send an email or call me. First name's Keith, so you can just call the number and dial by name, extension 2033. But you can always just dial me by name. And I'm always willing to talk to people, especially people trying to start businesses, but guys that are out there that are tech folks, if you want to connect with other tech folks and get more ideas, happy to have a conversation anytime.
Outstanding. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you joining us. Everybody, Keith Perry, website DAOtechnologies.com. That's Keith Perry with DAO Technologies. And we'll have a link for you guys in the show notes. So if you want a link to Keith's website, head over to podcast.asknoahshow.com, and we'll have that link right there for you. Again, open phones this hour, 1-855-450-NOAH. That's 855-450-6624. The email, live@asknoahshow.com. Make your voice heard, become a part of the program. Now, we're doing a small business theme hour. As you can tell, Keith is a small business owner and a very successful one, somebody who understands not only the technical side, but understands the nature of serving people. And so Keith was kind enough to join us on very short notice. I mean, we had maybe just a couple of, maybe shy of an hour, I would say, maybe even less than that, to actually get Keith on the program, and he's you all can tell he's a real asset, and so we really appreciate having him. We got a crowd of people that have come up around the table, and so we're going to start putting them on one by one. Some of these guys own small businesses, some of these guys have small questions for small business, and there was at least one person that was coming by to win the t-shirt. That's right, we're having a t-shirt contest. It's a pretty cool thing. Basically, the way it works is you have to understand your Linux. You think you know Linux? Come against me. All right? I do this for a living. I answer questions about Linux. I'm going to ask you a question about Linux. It's a Linux trivia game. If you get the question right, I give you a t-shirt. Why would I want a stupid t-shirt? No, well, first of all, it's not a stupid t-shirt. Okay, it's a really cool t-shirt, and it says, I'm here to do everything they said couldn't be done on Linux. And that's a cool t-shirt, and everybody wants one. But you can only get them here for free. Underneath the table is where they are. But they're going to be on you after you answer the trivia question. Now, it gets better. Because you take your free t-shirt that I'm going to give you, no purchase necessary, and you take a selfie with that t-shirt, and you tweet it. And use the hashtag #IAnsweredNoah. Because this time, instead of you asked Noah, you answered Noah. Use the hashtag #IAnsweredNoah, and you'll be entered to win a free Microtech RB750 Hex. We're going to give the router away. Why are we giving a router away? Because literally everybody I run into goes, no, what router do you recommend? And I'm like, this one. What router do you recommend? This one. It's been in like 7 out of the 40-some show notes. Which router do you recommend? This one. So you know what? Screw it. I'm just going to give them away. That's what I'm going to do. If you want a router, I'll give it to you for free. Again, 855-450-NOAH. That's 855-450-6624. The email, live@asknoahshow.com. Joining me to my left is, again, a good friend of mine that... we met, and we have been sharing business ideas, and you actually started a Telegram group for small business.
Yes, I did.
So tell me a little bit about that. What was it that you were? What drove you to say we need a Telegram to talk about small business?
Well, you had the Ask Noah Telegram group, and while lots of ideas were flying in there, lots of other things were flying. So I thought it wouldn't be great if there were just business ideas and a place where people with a small business who are getting started, because honestly, I must have nailed you with about 1,000 questions when I decided to actually take the plunge.
Sure.
Things that I've learned, things that you've learned, we could share with someone else who was starting, and I just thought it would be a a great thing to get started.
So it's become a resource, and it's become a hangout, a small business owner, particularly those that work in the tech community. And we've got everybody in there, from experienced business owners that have been running businesses for 10, 15, 20 years, all the way up to the new guy that says, I have this idea. I know how I could serve somebody. I just don't know how to get started. And so we're going to have a link to that small business discussion in the chat room, in the show notes, rather. And so if you head over to podcast.asknoahshow.com, check out the latest episode of our Small Business Theme Hour. You'll find a link to that small business discussion if you'd like to join. It's pretty lightly moderated. The only thing that we ask is that you keep the topics roughly related to small business. Don't get too off on the weeds talking about, we try and keep the politics out. We try to keep the not safe for work content out. We really want to keep it small business oriented, because we want it to be a place for people to learn and to be focused. We have other groups. We have other Telegram channels that are, like the Ask Noah channel, for example, telegram.asknoahshow.com. It's a really great place for people to just have a conversation about just about anything. We really don't censor it. We keep it family friendly for the most part, because we want people of all ages to be invited. But the reality is we don't really have a heavy hand when it comes to censorship there. Just talk about whatever you want. In the small business discussion, it's a little bit tighter. And I'll add, there's no official affiliation with the Ask Noah Show. It is purely, I'm not trying to steal your thing. I mean, this is something that you created. So Chris DeLuca did that. Now, you have an interesting story to share with us. Chris wears a number of hats, but Chris works for a school district, as many of you have heard, and implements open source and Linux solutions in that school district. But here you have also basically come on to say, sometimes you just have to tell the client they're wrong. That's what you have to do. And you've had some of these experiences, and I started asking, I said, come up with a list of suggestions that you have, or lessons that you've learned in the couple of years that you've run your business, and you said, okay, well, I got one right off the bat. Tell me about that. Tell me the story.
One of the biggest things, it was hardest for me to do, because sometimes you just know what they need, and they don't. And sometimes you just have to tell your client that's not the right idea. However, they're dead set on it. That's what they want to do. So the hardest thing for me to do was to step back and let them learn. And this particular client, they wanted to connect some outlying buildings. They wanted Wi-Fi all over the place. They wanted cameras to see some of the hidden places on the campus. And they said, well, how best do we go about doing that? And I thought about doing it wirelessly with nano beams, and in a couple of scenarios that was the only thing to do, but I just didn't want to do the whole campus.
Yeah, because we're talking about a bunch of buildings that are separated by a couple hundred yards. It's like there's enough space that we can get a physical connection here.
So I told him the best thing to do, let's run fiber between the buildings. Well, they didn't want to do that. They didn't want to dig up the yard. They didn't want to go that route. They ended up talking to the local ISP, and they had a route on the back of the campus where the ISP said, well, we can come down those telephone poles there, and we'll go ahead and trench it, providing you get at least, I think it was 3 cable modems. And so the ISP's answer was dropping cable modems in all these buildings. And
let's just be clear about this. If you're talking about we want to provide public Wi-Fi to everybody that visits our campus, well, that makes perfect sense. Why not put 3 cable modems in there? If the cost, if your break-even point at 3 cable modems with service is, 5 years or 10 years or something, yeah, maybe it does just make sense to just put those cable modems in and call it good, and you can look at trenching when you're doing other sort of building repairs that might involve trenching anyway. But in this case, you're putting a lot of traffic-heavy stuff.
Yeah, because all these outlying buildings are actually museums, and they're museums with Appalachian history in them. And so one would be the history, well, it wasn't entirely Appalachian history, but history of transportation, the history of the Appalachian people, and they have like a country store, and how a country store would look back in the 1500s. And they wanted Wi-Fi. They wanted their ultimate goal is to have some kind of a system where a person can be touring the campus on their own and just walk up and touch a screen, see video, and they wanted to pull that from a server as they built the videos.
Okay.
So if it was just public Wi-Fi, no big deal. Just drop cable modem in there. I put access points, and away they go. But they're looking further down the road. So I told them, I said, this isn't the right way to go. You want to do this? You want to run fiber? Well, Comcast is going to do all the trenching, and they're going to and all you can have to do. Can you make it work?
You're just trying to make a buck off me. That's the issue here.
I said, yeah, I can make it work. But to get all this data back to your, the camera system and everything, I said, I'm going to have to build VPNs, and you're going to want to be able to access the server from here and there. And they actually have IP phones in one of the farthest outlying buildings. And I said, we can make it work. It's not what you want to do. And they said, well, this is what we're going to do. And the hardest thing for me to do was to step back and say, okay, do it. Well, ironically, a year later, the first year contract comes up, and they approach me and they said, so how do we get rid of these cable modems? And I'm like, why do you want to get rid of these cable modems?
That's what provides your connection now to your cameras. Remember?
In order to do these VPNs, they had to have business class cable modems.
Right.
They had to have static IP addresses.
Oh, I know.
Each one of them was costing them about $240 a month, and they had 5 of them. So they said, well, after $14,000, we need to get rid of them.
And you're sitting there and you're like, listen, it turns out 9 months ago when you asked me to do this, I had a calculator, and we actually ran all these numbers and knew you were going to get to this point. Like, we knew that, and that's why we told you not to do this.
Long story short, when they finally said it, for $4,500, I connected almost every building with fiber, and they got rid of their cable modems. And had they listened to me in the beginning, they'd have saved themselves $10,000. Not to mention consulting fees, equipment I had to buy, setup time I had to do. So yeah, sometimes you just have to let the client make the mistake, eat the cost, and come back and they say, "Wow, he was actually right."
Oops.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Well, that's good advice, and it's one of the things that you said to me that really stood out. You said, I knew as a small business owner what the right call was. I just didn't have the experience to be able to say, this is absolutely right. You kind of question yourself a little bit when you first get into it.
Yeah, I had a buffer between the head of the company and the guy who actually contacted me and asked me to come in, and I would be on the phone with him, and I would just be swearing 4-letter words over.
Sure.
Why won't he listen to me? Well, that's what he wants to do.
Yeah.
Just let him do it. It was just the most frustrating thing I've had to do.
You know, and what's interesting is that you bring that up, because that is a lot of what the small business discussion in Telegram offers. It offers listeners a place to go to vent that kind of stuff and say, this is the situation I'm dealing. Does anybody have a way that how have you dealt with this situation before? And then, I might come in and give some advice, or you might come in and give some advice, and so it's a really tight-knit thing, and we really appreciate that. Again, phone lines are open, 1-855-450-NOAH. That's 855-450-6624. The email, live@asknoahshow.com. Make your voice heard, become a part of the program. We're doing a small business theme hour. If you have questions about small business, give us a call right now. We'd appreciate talking to you. Jeff is calling from Charlotte, North Carolina. Hey, Jeff, welcome to the Ask Noah Show.
Hi, Noah. Thank you for taking my call. In fact, I am about 4 tables down from you.
Oh, you are? Well, hello there. Hello, welcome to. You could have come by. You could have come on mic. That's fine. How can we help?
I was advised to call instead. I figured it would be a little more classy to do that. I actually do have a question, though. I'm looking at Ubuntu 16.04, and I'm trying to add a static IPv6 address, and I don't know why I can't get this working. Is the syntax changed in the interfaces file between versions of Ubuntu?
Are we talking server, or are we talking with the graphical interface?
Server.
Yeah, so...
Laptop down here, you can look at yourself?
Yeah, we could do... I mean, here's the thing. It wouldn't make for terribly interesting radio, so perhaps I'll do it off the air. But let me ask you something. Have you tried just using the IP-ADDR add?
I can do that by hand, but I'm trying to get this so it'll come up at boot time by itself.
So you should be able to. Jeez, I can do this on CentOS. Let's see. Let's do live troubleshooting right on there. I could do it on your computer, but then if I screw it up, then you're really going to be upset. So let's see here. It is in /etc. I believe it's just VI network. No, they did. I think they did change it, but.
Network interface? Etsy network interfaces?
Yeah, here we go. See, this is why I should stick to CentOS. Can we install CentOS? Yeah, okay. So here we go. Interface, IF up, down, auto loopback. Yes, I believe, so yeah, so the answer to your question is Etsy/network, and then if you modify the interface file, you should be able to specify an IP address, and I believe that accepts IPv6.
Okay. All right. I guess I'll need to have you take a look at this to get it answered fully. And it's difficult to troubleshoot over the radio, but it's good to know that it's even possible.
Yeah, I'm sure it's possible. Yeah, in fact, you know how I know it is because you can do it from Network Manager, which I have done. In fact, I had to do it last night because we had an issue. But with this machine, it was the first time I've actually done that on 1604. But yeah, I will. There's an article on exactly how to specify static IP addresses in Ubuntu. So I'll have a link for you in the show notes. But yeah, essentially, you make a copy of that. For anybody listening, you make a copy of that backup file. Open up VI. You specify IFACE space the device name, so ETH0, and then it would be iNet6 because you're IPv6 static, and then address space, and then the IP address, and that should work just fine. And for those of you listening. And I don't mean to do this, but I can't help myself. The place to do it in CentOS is etc sysconfig network-script /. That's where all the stuff is in CentOS, because that's usually where I'm specifying IP addresses. So Ubuntu throws me for a loop, and I do have documentation to look at. I just takes me a little bit. We figured it out on the air. That's good live troubleshooting, right? 1-855-NOAH, that's 855-450-6624. The email, live@asknoahshow.com. If you are at Self and you want to come down, just walk on down. I want to go to my friend Michael Tennell. He's sitting over to my right. Hey, Michael, welcome to the Ask Noah Show.
Hello.
So yeah. So you've been on and off hosting some of this stuff with me the past couple of days. And I just wanted to just pick your brain. I mean, you're both a small business owner and you're an attendee and, fill-in host here at Southeast Linux Fest. So tell me how it's going.
Well, actually, most of the trip has been great. The conference has been really fun. A lot of great talks were really interesting to check out. Mine was not so great, but had a little bit of a lot of technical difficulties I had to deal with, but
none were Linux's fault.
None would actually. It's because of the probably because of the Windows fault.
Yeah. But you have given a talk on Caden Live, which was very well received, from what I understand. You also
with all of it, yeah.
Yeah, and what's interesting? What's interesting is independent media creation has to be on the rise, and I say that because both your and my rooms were packed.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, there was standing room only. There were people standing in both of our talks. There were people standing around the edges.
I was worried I wasn't going to get a lot of people.
I was thinking that too. I thought, how many people? This is a very niche thing, and they were packed. And then as people were walking out, I had a crowd of people that followed me back to the table and started asking me questions and looking at hardware and stuff like that. And noticed you kind of had the same thing. People were asking you questions, really interested in the kind of content that you're putting out. And there
was a lot of people. I had to deal with a lot of technical difficulties, so there was a few things that I couldn't get to because I couldn't display it with what I wanted to. So I turned it into like the last 15 minutes to just questions, and there was there was a lot more than I expected, and we kind of went over a little bit anyway. So.
Awesome, absolutely fantastic. You have anything to add to the small business discussion?
I think it's a very interesting topic as far as what Keith said, but I think there's a little bit of there's a slight tweak to what he said. I don't think that you should embrace the fear. I think you should overcome the fear in the sense of everyone is going to fail when they do any kind of new thing.
Sure.
So if you embrace the fear and let it kind of fuel you, it might actually kind of hold you back a little bit too. So I think if you just kind of accept the fact that fear is going to be there, you're going to fail. So the fear of failure is kind of irrelevant. It's a guarantee.
Mm-hmm.
So just look at it as every time you fail, you're learning something new to improve the next time. So instead of using it to fuel you, I think you should just kind of embrace it and just let it go.
That makes perfect sense.
In that way, you're not having to worry about failure is going to be just another thing that happens.
Absolutely, and the interesting thing about fear is. And that's really well put. I mean, it really does cut both ways. Yeah. It can be a safety net, or it can hold you back sometimes. And so what you're saying is you need to not let it hold you back, and you need to accept it. And I have said this on the air before a million times. I believe that success. A lot of people look at success as this linear climb to the top of a mountain. I look at success as this up and down roller coaster, and really a gigantic pile of. What is that? What? I look at success as a giant pile of failures that you stand on top of.
Yeah.
It is running Linux. No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
Well, it is. It just doesn't.
It's shelled into the system.
Okay. All right. Oh, I see. Okay. All right. You throw me for a loop. They're trying to distract me. That's what's happening. Yeah. Well, absolutely. Yeah. We'll take care of the IPv6 thing. No problem. But yeah, I've often said that. I've said that success is standing on a pile of failures, and I think that is a really accurate description, and it's something that a lot of people that are coming into business or don't understand the risk of small business. It's also why I never recommend people take out a lot of debt for business. Actually, I don't recommend people take out any debt because a small business is a very risky proposition to begin with. Now, I agree with Keith. If you keep at it long enough, you'll eventually succeed, assuming that you're serving people. As long as you're taking that feedback and incorporating that into, you'll eventually find your audience or your customer base, whatever.
Totally. If you grind at it, eventually you'll get it.
Right, exactly, and be willing to improve and stuff like that. So I completely agree with him there. I to a certain degree, I also think that I think that we just need to step back sometimes and evaluate things holistically and just say, what is it that we're trying to do, and how do we get there, and what things are going to be distracting for us and get in the way of us getting there. And I think sometimes a lot of us, especially me, I really struggle with that. I know.
I think it's also that my main point was that the failure thing of just if you grind too much, that you gotta learn that grinding is important to get to where you want to go, but you also need to know that if you need to pivot, it's okay to pivot.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. And that's what I was talking about. Accepting and reflect and taking feedback and incorporating it, right? If you're making, let's say you're making widgets, and a lot of your people say, I want a different kind of widget. In fact, there's a small business story. It's kind of an allegory. The story goes something like, a little boy walks into the shop, grocery market, and says, I want a ping pong ball. Do you have a ping pong ball? And the grocer says, no, we don't carry ping pong balls. We're a grocery store. So the kid leaves. So he comes back the next day, and he and his buddy, they each want to buy ping pong balls. He said, do you have ping pong balls? We would both like ping pong balls. Do you have ping pong balls? And the grocer says, no, we don't have ping pong balls. I told you yesterday, and I'll tell your friend, we're a grocery store. We don't carry ping pong balls. So the day after, 4 kids come in, and they all start asking for ping pong balls. And when the first one approaches the grocer and says, do you have any ping pong balls? The grocer responds, how many dozen would you like? Because he pivoted, because he took the feedback. There is a market for this. There is a way to make money, and this right now is there are more people coming into my store asking for ping pong balls than groceries. I need to start selling ping pong balls if I'm not, and you need to be that grocer. And so I think that's a lesson that gets lost. I think you've hit the nail on the head. Anything else you want to add?
No, just mainly like it also depends like the type of personality. Maybe the fear could help you, maybe it won't. But if you want to use the fear if it helps you. If you don't, like embrace it and let it go. And then if you need to pivot to do something, it's okay. And in fact, in some cases, it might be better because it'll allow you to maybe let go of that fear as well. So if you think that you're doing a certain way and it's not working, and you're doing it too long, twist a little bit, and then you'll have you maybe just make it a little tweak or something like that. And it'll maybe help you let go of that fear.
Sure.
So that's my approach.
I definitely agree. The fear of starting my own business. I mean, you and I sat up. Noah and I sat
3 hours.
Yes, that was the biggest thing for me. Can I do this? I do have a day job. Eventually, I want this to be my day job.
Sure.
But support my family. What if I go into the business and I make the wrong decision? Into a client and I make the wrong decision. All of a sudden now, it was all fear, and it's still there. I'm a lot more confident, after what has been a year and a half.
Yeah,
I'm a lot more confident the things that I've done at a couple of my clients, but it's still there, and it does drive me. And what was his name? Keith.
Mm-hmm.
He hit the nail on the head. But so did you. I see both sides of that, and.
The interesting thing about confidence is a lot of times confidence comes from having done something, it's succeeding, and the fear comes from not having done something and worrying that it will fail, right? And a lot of times I think there's a better chance that it succeeds than it fails, and yet we always seem to concentrate on the failure, and we never concentrate on the potential of success, right? And that's a coping mechanism that a lot of therapists will tell that people that have problems with what's the matter?
What you're
Michael
saying
started laughing.
Like kind of reminded me of something of. If you're coping with it, and you're going to just deal with it. It's going to happen. It's going to happen either way, whether you fail or not. as long as you try, that's the only way you know it's going to work or not.
Right.
The only way you can
and more
importantly,
it's less likely that it doesn't work and that it does. And that's, again, not to keep coming back to the Telegram group, but that's where I think the Telegram group really plays a vital role, is because it can give you that confidence. When you can call me and say, listen, I want to virtualize this place, can I really do this? And I'm like, dude, listen, you install Virt Manager. I mean, it took a little bit to wrangle you on CentOS, but you install libvirt, install Virt Manager, and this is a thing that will work very well. I have it deployed at a lot of clients. That all of a sudden starts to give you some confidence. Well, if Noah's doing it, it's working for him. It could probably work for me. And then after the first time, now you're not nervous the second time you go to deploy it because you've done it before and it works. And I think that's where that Telegram group really plays a vital role, is being able to weed out the cans from the can nuts. Hey, I want to take a moment and just thank a special company that has really helped us out since the beginning of the Ask Noah show. When we launched the show, Jupiter Broadcasting provided all of the broadcasting assets. So they paid for our graphic design. Or excuse me. Well, actually, that's not entirely true. They paid for the graphic design of the logo and got us all of the stuff on the Jupiter Broadcasting site and all of our Twitter stuff and social media stuff. Michael Tennell at Tux Digital has actually done all of the graphic design for the web stream, and he designed our website for us and continues to maintain that. But another company that has really done a really great job at helping out the Ask Noah show was a company called Vox Telesis. And Vox Telesis is based out of Fargo, North Dakota, and they are a SIP provider, so they provide SIP service. So when we started a call-in show, they were a natural choice to talk to, and the owner is a good friend of mine, and enjoys the program and enjoys technology, runs his business entirely on Linux, and virtualizes. I think he's actually moved to Proxmox now. We're going to get him on the program to talk about that. But virtualized a lot of his infrastructure. And I was talking to him the other day, and I said, we're going out to Southeast Linux Fest, and you bought a lot of our broadcasting equipment, and helped us get off the ground. And so we're very thankful, because we wouldn't have been able to do that on our own. And not to ask for more, but is there anything you could do for the people that are listening? Because we include a link to their site in the show notes every week, because we appreciate the fact that we continue to be able to take phone calls because of them. And they said, we're going to put something together. So here's the deal that they have put together exclusively for the Ask Noah show. Now, we're not taking any money for this. This isn't like a sponsorship, anything like that. It's just they are, I guess it's a sponsorship in that they paid for the equipment, but they are just a good community member that wants to give back to the community. So here's what they're giving you. They're going to give you a $25 service credit, and they're going to waive all of their setup fees. So the only thing you pay is 1 penny per minute, $1 per line, or $1 per number. So you want a phone number, you pay $1. If you don't want a phone number, you just you can pay 1 cent per minute to make outgoing calls. And they're going to give you $25. So if you think about that, if you had a phone number, you could have a phone number for 2 years and never pay a dime. And then after that, you're paying $1 per month for that phone number. And then you pay $1 per line to have the account active, and then 1 cent per minute. So if you don't make any phone calls, that 1 cent per minute doesn't even apply to you. So if you're looking to get a business started, if you're looking to start your own business, you're obviously going to need a phone system. I mean, it'd be great if everybody went to email or Telegram or something like that, but in this day and age, you need a phone number if you're going to start your business. And like I said, I don't believe in debt. I don't believe on taking any more risk than you absolutely have to. And the nice thing about SIP and VoIP is that you can get started with just pennies on the dollar. I mean, if you can't afford $12 a year to have a dedicated business phone, or even $24 a year, have a dedicated business phone, then you probably shouldn't be starting a business. I'd save up that $24 and then start. That's twice as true if they're giving you that $25 credit, right? Because then you're $1 ahead of the game. So huge thanks to Vox Telesis for putting that deal together for us. It's only available to the Ask Noah show listeners, and the website to get that deal is Vox. We'll have a link in the show notes, but the website to get that deal is voxtelesis.com, and then it is /Ask Noah. So voxtelesis.com, voxtelesis.com/Ask Noah, and we will give you guys, they will give you guys a $25 credit, and you can get started by playing with your own SIP phone service. You can, of course, run that on something like DigitalOcean, or we actually use a different company because we want to be able to install the Asterisk Now ISO, and so we use a different company for that. And more of information on that is covered in our VPS episode, which is way back in the catalog, the first 10. Chris DeLuca, Michael Tennell, thanks so much for joining me. I really appreciate having you guys.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Yeah, you guys added a lot, and I hope that anybody out there that has an inkling to start a small business really considers doing so, because I think there's a lot of benefit to be had, and I think that there's a lot that you'll get back out of it. And at the end of the day, I'm just happier working for myself because I like owning my own future. I like owning my own destiny, and frankly, I like being in control of my own destiny. So, that's pretty fun. If you like owning your own technology, why wouldn't you like owning your own job? So that's something I would highly check out. Make sure to tune in tomorrow. We have another Ask Noah show coming up for you tomorrow morning at 10 a.m., followed by coverage of Southeast Linux Fest. And that will put us to the end of this week's episode. Did you know this show is available as a downloadable podcast? That's right. To subscribe to the feed or download the latest episode, visit podcast.asknoahshow.com. There you'll find not only the latest episode, but all of the articles and materials referenced in this episode. You can get the latest, of course, by following us on Twitter at Ask Noah Show. The Ask Noah Show continues next Tuesday at 6 p.m. Central. A huge thanks to Vox Telesys for providing our phone systems and that $25 credit. Ben, our producer, and Sarah, our call screener. This hour of the show may be over, but there's plenty of more content for you 24/7 at AskNoahShow.com.